After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the Meat Eater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside. From grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.
You're listening to the Sportsman's Nation Podcast Network, brought to you by Exodus Trail Cameras. Now, it's summertime, and that means it's time to start getting our trail cameras ready and our trail cameras out to start capturing pictures of velvet bucks. And our friends at Exodus are kicking things off with Velvet Fest. Now, what is Velvet Fest? Long story short, Velvet Fest is the opportunity for you to win a variety of different prizes just by purchasing Exodus trail cameras, one of the best trail cameras on the market. Now, until July 12th, when you purchase any trail camera, you will be automatically entered into a drawing to win a variety of prizes from companies like Wicked Tree Gear, Maven Rifle Scopes, Tethered Tree Saddles, and of course, Exodus Trail Cameras. Be sure to follow Exodus on Facebook and Instagram, and be sure to visit ExodusOutdoorGear.com for more information on Velvet Fest.
Your life will be changed when you kill your first animal. And with a stick, because you'll go, this can happen, and
right.
And I believe that when that happens, and for some people, it took me a few years before I did, but when that happens, I don't know that you ever go back.
I despise the game of golf, so I can't believe I'm bringing this up on the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. But you hear people talk about golf, how it's like this game you never perfect. You know, you just keep working, and that's what people that have nothing else to do in their life choose to do when they want to be golfers.
Sure.
But traditional archery is like that. It's like no matter how long you've done it, you still have to be on your A game.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and I'm the host of the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. I'll also be your host into the world of hunting the icon of North American wilderness, the bear. We'll talk about tactics, gear, conservation, but we'll also bring you into some of the wildest country on the planet, chasing bear.
On this episode of the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast, we're still in the wild places of British Columbia, Canada, with Jeff Lander and Primitive Outfitting. We're talking with Jeff, but also his good buddy, and now my good buddy, Dave Kueber. Dave is an Alaskan resident and a lifelong traditional archer. So Dave talks about hunting in Alaska, hunting brown bears, but we really just kind of have a campfire, round table discussion of traditional archery, why we do it, the self-imposed limitations of traditional archery, and just lots of general great discussion. Jeff talks about a hunt that he and Dave were on just that week. I also want to bring your attention to some of our good buddies at the Western Bear Foundation. The Western Bear Foundation is based out of Cody, Wyoming. These guys are hunters, and they are in the heat of and at the epicenter of the issues revolving around bears out west, and they're taking a big stance, and the Western Bear Foundation is rewriting the narrative for how hunters are involved inside of the bear world. As you guys know, there's a lot of hype, a lot of negative stuff going on with the delisting of the grizzly bear out in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Well, Joe Condellis and the Western Bear Foundation are right in the heat of it. They're a nonprofit organization, a membership-driven nonprofit organization, and they're standing up for hunters. And the way that I would describe them inside of rewriting the narrative is that they're actually doing things that are keeping bears on the landscape. They're using the funds that they have currently for 2 projects. Last summer, they installed bear-proof food containers in some of the hotspot camping regions in the area. And basically they're saying, hey, we don't want bears getting in trouble here and then have to be killed. We don't want them to be euthanized. They're putting their money where their mouth is to keep bears on the landscape, and that's what hunters do. The other place that they're putting money in right now is that they're buying collars for research projects. They're funding research in the greater Yellowstone region, and basically what the message that we're sending to the anti-hunting community, those that are against our lifestyle and way of life and way of thinking, is that they're saying, hey, we're interested in bears on the landscape. We are interested in bears thriving in this ecosystem, and we're hunters. And the Western Bear Foundation, great organization. Check them out. Become a member. And, here's the truth. If you're a member of the Western Bear Foundation, you're going to get Bear Hunting Magazine sent to your house 6 times a year. So it's a great way to get Bear Hunting Magazine, but also support a great nonprofit that is doing some stuff out west for bears. So we are in British Columbia, Canada. We're at the world headquarters of Primitive Outfitting with Jeff Lander, and we've got Jeff's good buddy and now my good buddy Dave Kueber here. And this is the 6th day that I've been here, Jeff, and we've had an incredible time. Saw big bears every day, put stalks on big bears every day. The only complaint I have about British Columbia is inconsistent wind. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's any way you could. Is there anything you could do about that?
Hunt next to the railroad when these trains are going by.
Yeah,
the wind's going the way they're going.
Or culverts. When I was
creek bottom.
That's another story. Culvert wind has to go through. Mm-hmm. Man, I've already dug us a hole we can't get out of. Stalked a bear through a culvert a few days ago. No, hey, we're going to talk about traditional archery. Jeff is a long-time hardcore traditional archer, and Dave as well is a long-time hardcore traditional archer. These guys have a wealth of experience and knowledge and success, and just so that's really what we're talking about, because right now what I see inside of the hunting world is people looking for different ways to enjoy the resource, different ways to challenge themselves inside of hunting. And, when I was growing up in the 90s, that's kind of when I came of age to hunt. Killing a deer with a compound bow, Dave, was a big deal. I was the only kid in my school that had ever done it. And when my dad was in the 70s, started hunting with compounds and stuff, I mean, he was the only guy in his town killing deer consistent with a bow. And so, that was a big enough challenge, And then, man, by the late 90s, early 2000s, everybody and their daughter was killing deer with compound bows. I mean, people just became better hunters. Technology became better. And that is when I was introduced to traditional archery by a gentleman that is, to this day, a mentor to me. And he talked about hunting with a trad bow on public land in Arkansas. And I remember just thinking, that's the way bow hunting ought to be done, and from a personal standard. And I think that's something that we can't do, is tell somebody else what they're supposed to do. We just got to be true to what we want to get out of hunting, And so my journey was, and I'm not here to talk about me, but, over the course of 15 years, kind of transitioned to now where really my primary weapon is usually going to be a traditional bow, even though I still use compounds, still use a rifle some. Mm-hmm. But, Jeff, tell me about you talked about it a little bit this morning, but your history into and how you got into trad bow hunting.
Yeah, I mean, I was did a little bit with the compound for a few years and really enjoyed it. I don't really remember who got me into the compound. That was back in the Martin days, the overdraw.
Right.
The 22-16s, which a lot of kids these days wouldn't know what a 22-16 was.
22-16s.
Yeah. But and then I worked when I was in Seattle, I worked for a place called Salvino Sports. Dick Salvino was good friends with Schaefer, shot Schaefer's bows. Was pretty opinionated, as most traditional shooters are. Mm-hmm. Pretty opinionated about what they shoot, and so I started at his range shooting his Schaefer, and then another guy named Rocky Miller, who's no longer making bows. Heritage Archery was shooting his bows, and then I just ended up buying one. So at first it was a little bit of peer pressure from my boss, just for fun, and then it became enjoyable. Started shooting some 3D shoots in the summer times. Realized what heat does to a recurve bow. 100-degree weather down in eastern Washington. Delaminated my bow before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, first shot at the range, it delaminated. So yeah. And then just kind of went from there. With college and success didn't start off right away. I mean, unlike the compound, it was frustrating, but just kind of stuck with it. We had little babies, so it wasn't like I was going on a lot of hunts. But then just
what drew you to that challenge, to that level of challenge? Because you could have stuck with a compound.
I don't know, just how simple it was,
the simplicity of it,
and then making arrows and splicing feathers, and even made my own self bow a few times.
Yeah.
Didn't work out real well. Don't have that craftsmanship like a lot of these guys do.
Yeah.
Else. But, that's kind of how it started. And then I started shooting the North American Longbow Safari.
Okay.
And there's a guy up in Alberta, Bert Frailing's his name, and he was the leader of our group. And I didn't know that it was a broadhead-only shoot and wood arrows. And so I showed up to this thing. I just had whatever aluminum arrows, and this guy gave me like 8 beautifully crafted cedar arrows with spliced feathers and 190 grain grizzlies on it. And so the community is also what attracted me. It's just a real tight-knit community. Yeah. Like-minded folks. So that's kind of how it started, and then just went from a progression of the first longbow I bought from Rocky was 80 pounds. I figured you have to have similar to what my compound was.
Right, yeah.
And then went into self bows like John Strunk, and so I kind of went down that road for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The name of your outfit is Primitive Outfitting.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you like the idea of traditional archery.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of the philosophy of it.
But as a business owner, I also like compounds.
Yeah, got to have compound guys in here.
Yeah, and I don't mind rifles either. So,
hey, introduce Dave to us. I know he could do a good job, but I bet you could do better.
I met Dave. Dave came down from Alaska to hunt grizzlies, and that was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I taught Dave everything he knows about running the river.
Okay.
And so we were floating the river. I'd never really.
Wait a minute. Are we inside of an inside joke here and don't know it? Okay.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. So Dave and I were going down the river, and I'd really never navigated a river with a raft.
Here?
Yeah, up on one of the rivers in the area, and I was taking his hat off. I was just on blowdowns, and he says, "Get over to the side," and I get to the side, and he gives me the quick Alaska rundown on.
Right
he got
on.
tired of losing his Sitka
So
hats.
you were like, okay, Mr. Outfitter, let me drive this boat.
Well, it became immediately apparent that the guy, just couldn't drive a boat, down the river, and it got to the point where every willow tree along that river was a target. It was fun, but I lost a outstanding hat on that.
I was sick. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
I agree.
So yeah, that's kind of how it worked, and we had a good hunt. He had an opportunity, a very big grizzly, and that's for another day. But then it ends up that he hunted with me, I don't even know, if 2 or 3 times in the Edmonton bow zone or more, and the same down in my mule deer camp. And that buck that's above your head right now is one that he shot.
Right, yeah.
And then
Dandy.
He came here a few years ago. Did you come here 2 or 3 years in a row? I don't even remember, 1 or 2.
Yeah, a couple.
And then, then last year he took a year off when he had some heart work done, and which is a miracle in itself that he's sitting here right now.
Yeah.
Still cranky, but we're glad he's still kicking around and giving me a hard time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But he's a veteran traditional archer.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. Dave, why don't you introduce yourself? Just a little bit of history.
Yeah.
Now, how old are you, Dave?
Well, I'm 65 now.
Yeah.
And I started, I didn't have a choice, first off, when I started. It was longbows and recurves.
Pull your there.
It was,
there you go. Yeah.
Is that good?
Yes.
It was longbows and recurves only, and I didn't have a choice.
Back in the 60s?
Well, it was 1967, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first year I bought a license. And,
How old would you have been then? 20s?
No. I was, let's see.
I'm not doing math. I was just guessing.
16 or
okay,
17.
you were a teenager. Yeah.
I was still in high school. And, it was pretty cool.
You were born in 1903?
It might lolook that way, but no. 1954.
Okay, yeah. There we go. Okay, got the math right now.
Now you got it. Yeah, good. But anyway, that's it's a good area. The thing about traditional archery is I didn't have a choice, and I was lucky because there wasn't a compound in the choosing of anything. It was just simple. Pick up a bow.
If you wanted to be a bow hunter, you shot at traditional archery.
Right, and I remember to this day, my cousin and another friend of mine were instrumental in getting me started in high school, and we had a place in Minnesota called Fort Ripley. So we got ready to hunt Fort Ripley, and I remember that night before opening day, sharpening broadheads for hours and hours, and I had gone through herders to buy my broadheads.
That's a mail order catalog for those
back
under.
in the day, yeah.
I've just heard hearsay of it.
Yeah, it's I don't know who owns it now, but it was the only source I had for buying traditional or any kind of archery gear. And I had ordered some broadheads, and they were called Herder's Ram X broadheads. Well, they must have been made of pot steel because you could not get them sharpened. For hours and hours, I practiced sharpening them at the campfire. Finally, my cousin said, here's a bunch of deltas. Put them on there. They're wood shafts. And sharpen them. And I did that until 4 o'clock in the morning when we had to get up and go hunting. And it was a learning experience, but it also taught me that good gear was very important. And it just blossomed from there.
So what was your first traditional animal? What was your first animal that you took?
42-pound fawn.
Is that right?
Yeah, that year's
That's a small target, man. That's harder than killing a big one.
And I hit him when he was running through the heart. Yeah, it was just, plumb unconscious luck. But that was 42 pounds.
How did you learn to shoot? There was probably very little resource about it, like form and how you just started shooting it.
Absolutely none. I mean, there wasn't anything, no social media. I picked the bow up. We bought it, 47-pound Ben Pearson. And where I lived, to where I could practice a bow, it was kind of rural, city-type area in Minnesota. And I'd have to ride my bike for 2 miles to come to these bales in a park. And I did it every day after school. Every
so
day.
You were kind of mesmerized with the bow.
Oh, I loved it. I had no idea what yardage was.
You're just shooting it.
Just shoot.
Let me ask you this. Did you find that the native form that you began to use was correct?
Yeah, I've been lucky. I started with a meridian draw, which is 1 finger above 2.
Split finger.
Split finger.
Yeah.
I started that way, and I've been that way ever since. And I think my form's pretty good. I've learned a lot from people over the years of how to follow through. continue aiming at your target in your mind,
right.
That type of thing, and
that Jedi master stuff.
Yeah, it was all good, but when I was learning, I didn't have anybody to teach me.
Yeah,
and I just got lucky.
What was your accurate range back in those days?
I've thought about that over the years. 30 yards was not in question. I mean, I could not shoot 30 yards. We always shot 10 to 15 to 20. It was real close. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even launch arrows. Like now, I love to watch an arrow fly, right? 50, 60 yards, but we wouldn't even think about shooting that far.
Yeah.
So I would say my accurate range was 10 to 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like it is now.
Yeah.
Well, your eyesight outside of that is probably not too good.
You know what, Jeff? My eyesight is...
He was born in 1903. You got to give him some credit.
Keep it clean.
Yeah.
He started reading when he was 18. So, yeah.
But I didn't comprehend until I was 25.
That's true.
That's
true.
So, so you killed a deer. Now, you were living in Minnesota.
Yep.
But now, I don't know very much of your history, but I know that you were in Montana for years, and now you're an Alaskan resident and have spent 20-something years in Alaska.
Right.
And that's where you've done a tremendous amount of, you've taken tons of big game in Alaska.
And Montana. I've been lucky. My career is what brought me. Law enforcement brought me to Montana.
All the criminals are out west.
Yeah, you bet.
We'll see Nebraska, but yeah.
Yeah, Nebraska.
But then I went to Alaska, and there's nothing like Alaska. There's nothing like going to a place where nobody else has been. Mm. And Alaska, you can still find that. Really cool.
When you moved to Alaska for your job, was the intent to? Did you want to locate there so that you could hunt, or was it just where a job opportunity was and you followed that?
Well, unfortunately, all my moves were because of hunting. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
just checking.
It was absolutely number one.
What year did you move there?
Man, I don't even remember. 1980 something. 88.
Yeah.
And then, but I took promotions down south, being down south in the lower 48.
Yeah.
And then came back up to Alaska, that type of thing. My job afforded me, free moves.
Right.
And my family.
Yeah.
And the whole family would move.
So you raised your family in Alaska, and you've still got sons there?
Yeah. All the kids graduated in Alaska.
Yeah.
From high school. So. Tell
me, and Jeff, if you know some prodding questions for Dave, I invite you to ask those. Moving to Alaska, today I feel like Alaska is much more known because of media. Just the transmission of information is so available. But back in the 80s, Alaska, obviously you would have known it was good hunting and you would have known all the good things about being an Alaskan resident and a hunter. But, what was it like showing up there? A guy from Minnesota, maybe you lived in Montana, so you were kind of acclimated, but in starting to bow hunt Alaska. So and you've hunted, and I'll tee you up here. You've killed mountain grizzly in Alaska. You've killed sheep.
Yep.
You've killed. Have you killed a muskox up there?
No, bison.
Bison up there.
Yep.
So what was it like coming into that world with all that opportunity?
I think the most prevalent thing in my mind when I got up there was very little organized bow hunting. People really don't differentiate. If you want to shoot it with a spear, go ahead. It's just you can hunt, right? Rifle hunting is rifle hunting, and bow hunting is nuts. Most of those guys think, hey, what are you doing out here, right? And so I ran into a lot of that, but it wasn't derogatory. It was just they'd shake their head and walk away. I remember most of the float plane operators, they'd go, what is this, a fly rod? Oh, no, it's a longbow. And they'd kind of giggle,
Yeah.
But it was, it's a challenge, and that's what traditional archery is.
Why didn't you pick up a gun?
Well, I just challenge. I think, I made my living with a gun.
See, a lot of people go through this transition is that they start off with this limited technology. Like, all you had in the 60s was a wooden bow to shoot with. And then as soon as new technology comes around, they're like, heck yeah, forget that stuff.
Yeah.
But you stayed with it.
Well, no, I hadn't. I went on to the compound.
Right.
And I have no problem with going back to it someday.
Right.
Physically, if I have a problem,
yeah,
I'm going to go back to it, and I have no problem with that. But there is a trend that make it easier.
Yeah.
You took heat for that, too, big time.
Oh, man, did I? Yeah.
Tell us, Jeff.
Well, no, I mean, he comes from the era of there's a lot of folks out there who are friends of ours who are big in the business, whoever, some bow makers and traditional bow hunter guys that when you switch over, it's like you've cheated on your wife.
Right, yeah.
It really is fascinating how that works because traditional shooters are mostly the older school guys. Like we've got some yourself and Jake and whatever that are young, and you don't see that maybe necessarily as much as far as the old school guys. If you switch or you go to a compound, all of a sudden you're
out of the club.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And
but not only out of the club, but you're the devil.
Friendships are affected by it.
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
what part of the human psyche does that categorize into? I mean, like for real, like it's such a niche, it's such a close-knit group that all of a sudden when you do something different, it's like, yeah. I mean, I understand it, but it is an interesting human.
It kind of parallels the political climate right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, that's probably a good way to put it. Is that it's like if you all of a sudden were a Reagan Republican and you switched over to whatever Democrat. I mean, you're done.
Yeah.
Like your followers stop following you and whatever. And I think that's starting to fade as the older school guys.
Yeah, so it's like you broke an ideology.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you broke an ideology. I was talking this morning with Jake about how when I first started shooting trad or got a trad bow in like 2001 or 2, the guy that gave me the bow pretty much said, you can't do both. You can't shoot a compound and this and be successful.
Right.
And I kind of got his point, but what I found is that, I can navigate both weapons.
You know what I found? I can navigate both weapons too, but lots of people have told me that same thing. But I tell you, I'm a much better traditional shot after I've shot a compound for a while. I don't know why, but much, much better. Just aiming techniques or whatever it is, I shoot traditionally much better after I've shot a pin with release.
What do you guys think about and I hope that we are seeing a trend of a lot of new people coming into traditional archery, but you guys haven't been there for a long time. What are your perceptions? Like good and bad. You can say whatever you want.
Of what?
Well, just like perhaps it could be like what I've always said is that you can't fake traditional archery. Like with a compound, you can get a compound and you can become proficient relatively quickly, relatively easy. You can't fake a traditional bow. I think sometimes people perceive that, and then so they want to become a traditional archer, but then maybe they. I don't know. Just what are your perceptions of new people coming in? Because new people do bring new ideology, new stuff, and I mean we kind of talked about that. I mean some of the things the kids are doing these days are breaking the 3 fingers under and clickers. I mean that's a big deal.
Oh yeah. No, I think
I'm not even necessarily talking about that.
I think most of us when we start off, young, are shooting a stick. Our parents buy for us to go fling around at sparrows or whatever. I mean, I had an old herder's recurve, and I'd go down to the river and shoot carp, in grade school for the day, And so I think that it's the natural, not progression, but I think people are so efficient with these things now. I mean, like deadly deadly proficient with compound bows. I see it every year. In fall and spring, it blows me away. The guys who can shoot can really shoot, you know. And I think that after a while, you want more of a challenge. And now it's the rage now, you know. And you can attribute some of that to, like we were talking, Aaron Schneider. He kind of blew grabbed it and killed a lot of stuff with it, which kind of, and so for a lot of the old school guys, I think that kind of, I don't think they knew how to handle that, you know. And then because of that, and I'm just using that just one example, but now with social media and all the things that you can see at the click of a finger, people are thinking it's romantic and it's whatever, and it's simple. But now a lot of people are going that route, which is great, I think. Yeah. Whatever it takes.
The only thing I really like to say about that is that don't do it because somebody else is doing it.
Yeah.
To prove to them that you're the stud, right?
Yeah.
Do it for yourself because you like simplicity, and you like challenge, or whatever the reason.
Yeah.
Do it for yourself and feel good about it, right? Don't show off to somebody else just because you think they want you to look that
exactly
way.
Which isn't why Aaron did it.
No.
He just got tired of just killing stuff with his compound.
Yeah, I was so proficient, right?
Yeah. But and he doesn't like the accolades. I mean, when you tell him that, you know, that what you're doing is changing some stuff. And I mean, again, I'm just using him as an example just because I know him. And but I think it's kind of the rage right now. People are doing it, and which is great for the bowyers and arrow makers and stuff. Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, it is fun.
It's a lot of fun to shoot
and frustrating, super frustrating.
Well, look at you call any of these bowyers up nowadays. You want a new bow?
It's a year and a half.
You're looking at a year to year and a half.
Yeah,
and they're worth more than compounds.
Exactly.
Yeah,
by a long shot on some of these bowyers.
Yeah. So, absolutely, it's growing and cool.
Yeah, it is cool. To me, just to shoot a traditional bow is fun, and I'm a very proficient compound shooter, and shooting a compound has never been fun to me. I mean, just like joy. Like I hear people talk about that, about how much they enjoy shooting a compound, and I mean, just for sheer pleasure, just go out and just plank arrows. And I don't want to say I don't enjoy it, but to shoot a traditional bow, it's fun.
Yeah,
it kind of brought back some of the maybe initial joy and satisfaction that I had with a compound. It's brought it back, and it's kind of like what I hear. I despise the game of golf, so I can't believe I'm bringing this up on the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. But you hear people talk about golf, how it's like this game you never perfect. You just keep working, and that's what people that have nothing else to do in their life choose to do when they want to be golfers. Sure, yeah. Traditional archery is I knew I was going to step on somebody's feet. No, I'm teasing. My dad tried to push us to be golfers. But traditional archery is like that. It's like no matter how long you've done it, you still have to be on your A game to shoot proficient in the field and take animals.
There's a funny story about when I was in high school, junior year. We had a class called archery, and it split to golf. Well, I had absolutely no idea what golf was. I mean, hitting a ball around and trying to put it in a hole, right? That was just plumb boring, right? Anyway, the teacher, who was a cool guy, said, "Hey, you shoot a bow a lot, don't you?" I says, yeah. He says, "Well, I don't know anything about bows. So would you teach the bow part, and I'll teach the archery part, and I'll give you an A?" And I says, "You betcha." And then guess what? I got an A out of that class.
So there was a class that was split between archery and golf?
Right.
Wow.
Not archery golf, the game.
Right.
But it was
like two parts.
Two parts, right? And that was pretty wild. That was
maybe there is some similarities there.
Well, you got to put it somewhere,
I want to let's see. I want to hear some Jeff. What's an iconic traditional archery hunt that would epitomize why you love traditional archery? Like, if you were to ask me that, I think I would have an answer of the hunt. If that's a fair question. And I'm going to ask you the same thing, Dave.
It's like dream hunts or
Well, no, just like in your in your career, like when you were the first time that you took this animal in this way in this place, that you were like, this is traditional archery hunting for me. This is why I do it. Like, if you could describe it like that.
I would put 2 animals in there. Black bear would for sure be one. I think black bears are kind of custom made for the trad guy.
What about a specific hunt, though? Was there a hunt that was like iconic for you? Like a specific animal.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first animal you took with a trad bow?
Black bear.
Really?
Yeah.
First animal.
But probably my favorite, black bear's right there. And I haven't hunted them for a long time until this year, but would be mule deer. I think mule deer, in order to, everything has to come together on an open country spot and stock mule deer. There's no, you're not sitting in a tree stand, or you're not calling, or you're not doing whatever. Yeah. There was one mule deer that I hunted for about 8 days, and he kept kicking me and making me look foolish, and finally I fooled him. But there's a lot of them.
And when you took that animal, you were like, this is why I do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But probably the bear, with the self bow was pretty cool too.
No, that's
up here, British Columbia.
Yeah, just south of here. And actually, when in hitting it and it dying, it's like these things are efficient.
Yeah.
satisfaction.
Yeah.
Of that.
Yeah. Well, you're used to the high speed bow and compound, and then you switch over, and these arrows are shooting 160 feet per second versus at that time maybe 250 or not even. But still, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really think that you could kill something.
You didn't think they were an efficient weapon?
No.
Yeah.
No. And it was very...
That was a struggle for me when I first was, for 10 years, piddling around with traditional archery. I didn't believe that they were an effective killing tool. Mm-hmm. And then now, it's like when I pick up that bow, I feel like I could take down any critter on the planet.
Oh, I think
and
so.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was antelope. And it was on the prairie in Montana. And I was stalking antelope before anybody was, because most people thought, well, you're hunting antelope with a bow and arrow? Yeah, that's what I did. I can remember cutting out cardboard and painting it to look like an antelope before Mel Dutton decoys, before any of that stuff. And we'd paint these things, and of course the wind would just take them and fly them away. But stalking antelope, and when it finally came together, it was about a 25-yard shot on a real nice buck, and he was bedded. And right then and there, I said, man, that's what it's all about, because it took hours to get on that buck.
Wow.
And then, to get it to happen was really satisfying. Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah.
That was in the 70s. So.
Yeah. For me, now I'd taken animals before this, but if I look back at the animals that I've taken with traditional gear, which is not near as many as you guys have, but the bear over the water hole on public land in Arkansas.
Cool. Yeah.
Because I never thought that would be an animal that I would take on public land, spot and stock on the ground with a trad bow. I'd never purposefully didn't try to make that hunt happen just because it was just too hard. And that day it was kind of an accident that I even had my bow. I was really just scouting. And it was just, I was like, I might as well bring my bow. You never know. And ended up taking a bear. I knew where this water hole was. Didn't anticipate it having a lot of bears coming to it. Went to the water hole, 2 hours up there. Found a ton of bear sign and just said, man, I'm just going to sit here till one comes. Yeah. Sat down. 2 hours later, bear walks up 8 yards in the water, shoot it with a trad bow. And I think I even said, I'd rather kill that bear. And it was a sow. It wasn't a big one, just an average sow. I said, I'd rather take that bear, and I'm more proud of that bear than a Kodiak brown bear. Because I did it on my home turf and where I wanted to do it. the way I wanted to do it, or a way that I didn't expect to do it. And then, so to me, it's like I could never kill another animal again, and I could hang that bow up and just be like, yep.
That was a great video. Yeah, I really like that one. That was cool. You could tell you were excited.
Yeah, well, it was kind of an accident. But then the next day, went to the other state just down the road and was able to do it again, which that was cool. But, Jeff, what questions do we need to ask Dave about? Now, you started a couple of traditional archery state associations.
Yeah, well, myself and other people, but back in 1989, I was stationed with the United States Border Patrol down in Florida, and there was no organization for traditional bow hunters down there, and I got together with 4 or 5 guys and started traditional bow hunters of Florida.
Okay.
And now it's huge. I mean, like 1,000 members.
Okay.
But that was pretty cool. There's only like six of us that started that.
Yeah.
And it's grown since 1989 to what it is today.
Yeah.
And I was the first president of that. And traditional bow hunters of Montana, I was started that with Dick Robertson.
Okay.
And I think that was in it must have been 1980 something, 87 or 86, something like that. But and that's growing too. Also, I mean, these things have just blossomed.
Yeah.
So I mean, anything's possible, and it's just a bunch of guys getting together to care about something, and make it grow, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have much to do with the growth part, but at least we started it.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, that's great. Tell me about one of your bears in Alaska.
Well, first of all, I don't know what people think about baiting, but in Alaska you can hunt grizzlies with bait.
Right.
And I originally started out. I
can tell you what we think about it. We love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But there are people like several up there, the old-time bow hunters, and we all know who I'm talking about, that fought it tooth and nail in Alaska.
Really?
Oh, It was like bloody. They didn't want it to happen. Well, it happened, and now everybody can hunt them that way, and then it's the fishing game loves it because they're getting...
They did it as a management tool. They needed to take out bears and that they couldn't take them out other ways.
Right. They got some big boars are dying, grizzlies, and that's what it's all about for them. Anyway, I placed this bait in a remote spot, not thinking about it being a good grizzly spot. And I set it up and went up there the first night. And my tree stands are only like 10 feet in the air, just because I didn't want my arrow to come down and hit one lung, right? So I could, give more a different angle. I wasn't worried about, some of the black bears jumping in the tree stand with me. But I'm sitting there in the first night, and this grizzly gave no indication that he was feeding there, the crap or anything like that. A nice black bear came in, and I passed him up, and he ate and did that kind of thing, and I let him go, and 5 minutes later I see brown. I heard some twig snapping, and it's very thick, very, very, very thick. And I look, and I see brown coming through the trees, and I said, "Oh, great, a brown black bear! This is gonna be cool, right? Not a lot of color faces where I'm at." And he's coming in, and immediately I see his face come through the bush, and I say, "Oh crap! It's grizzly, and it's a big one." And I'm only, like I say, 10 feet in the tree.
So you were not trying to kill a grizzly?
No, I wasn't.
But you had a tag.
Oh yeah, we had a tag, but that's.
So you were okay. I'm with you.
Anybody can have a tag in Alaska, so.
Yeah.
So I was by myself. I didn't even have a gun.
Wow.
And this bear comes in. He smelt that black bear and just went absolutely ape. He grabbed that barrel and threw it. Then he'd beat it up and jump on it. I use plastic barrels up there, chained. And so he crushed that.
You think he was trying to make noise to let other bears know that he was in there?
I think so. And he was let everybody know he's
I've found that bears, if they want to be 100% silent, they are. And if they make noise, they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
To let other animals know.
And he let everybody know.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he bat that barrel around, hit it in the air, just like Muhammad Ali boxing a bag, you know, boom, boom, boom. It was awesome because he was so fast. And I'm only like 10 yards away from the bait and 10 feet in the air.
With no backup.
No backup. And I'm figuring, once he figures out I'm here, I'm dead, right? Well, he did look at me. And if you've ever been looked at by a grizzly, you know it. Because their beady little eyes just... And he didn't do anything about it, and he turned broadside, and I just thumped him. He took one jump, man. One jump and died.
No way.
I couldn't believe it. You know, they got this... Bears die easily if they're hit right.
Yeah.
And this one, I must have hit perfect because he just took a jump and died. He was a 24-inch skull. So.
Wow. What would he have squared?
Probably 7.
Yeah.
7.5.
Yeah.
He's not a huge grizzly, but he's a grizzly.
It's an interior grizzly. It's not a coastal brummer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate, I think.
Yeah.
Grizzly.
When I was with Jeff, the first hunt I went with Jeff, I had probably the most opportune time at a big grizzly that anybody has ever had. 2 shots at 35 yards, kind of downhill. Mm-hmm. Blew them both. Went high on both. I mean, this is not your average grizzly. This is a big, dark, black grizzly. Just obviously a boar.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously big and bad.
Was that right in this area, Jeff?
Up higher.
Up in the Alpine?
Yeah.
Fall?
It was in the berries. Yeah.
Oh.
There's a burn up there. So, yeah, that's where he was. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow. That would have been like 10 years ago?
Yeah, 9 maybe.
Yeah. Seems like
8.
yesterday.
Yeah, time flies.
Big bear. That was it's not the only grizzly I've missed, though. But, yeah, I've had good luck with grizzlies as far as getting in on them and occasionally getting one,
Yeah. Jeff, what are you thinking of any stories about Dave that need to be told?
Yeah, I'm sure he won't mind me telling this one, but Dave's got when Dave was born, his heart was on the right side of his chest, not his left side. So I don't know what that's called.
Dextrocardia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he comes up, and we're hunting mule deer, and we go on the stalk, and this is a big deer. He's bedded, and he's in a perfect spot. So we crawl in there. I turn around, and I looked at Dave, and Dave's lips are blue. We're 30 yards or 25 yards from this buck. I'm like, dude, are you all right? What's going on? And so in that space of time, he tells me that he's got a pretty severe heart condition.
Okay.
That I'm going to have to draw his bow. And not when he landed and we're at the room, when you usually do. And so I'm staring at him going, you're telling me this now? And so we got the bow drawn, and I stood the buck up, and then the buck ran and never got hit. So, yeah, he could be sitting here and having whatever. He could be on the verge of death, but he's never going to let you know that. Ever. So, yeah, he's the most optimistic guy I've met. And, we've had
a lot of cool things.
Man.
Yeah.
So
just the other night when you got your bear was awful cool.
Yeah, I was glad you were here. Yeah. So
y'all want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a couple hunters kill out on early, and so that opened it up for me to be able to tote around and look around. So we'd go. We went to a zone that's quite a ways from here. Kind of stayed away from obviously from my area, and we'd been seeing a few bears, not a lot, but some big ones, and mostly just to go hang out with this guy.
Yeah.
Saw wolves and grizzlies and Mr. Wolf. Anyway, just the way it worked, it was just happened fast. Saw him, went up on him. Didn't know if he was. I thought he was a good boar. But the way, he kind of when he saw me, he just stood up, put his paws up against the tree, and just looked at me. And I kind of hesitated, because I've shot quite a few, and I wanted to, and I haven't hunted one in 8 years.
So you're after a bear. You're after a big one.
I'd like, yeah. I see a lot of these things get shot every year. Yeah. It's not about the meat, because my freezer's full of bear meat.
Yeah.
And moose meat.
Which you guys really enjoy.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, yeah.
More guys are taking it home now, though. But, so it's not ever a meat. Whenever I go hunting, it's not for meat. Because as an outfitter, I'm fortunate. My freezer's full of meat.
Yeah.
People don't. When you fly up here and shoot a moose, you're not flying home with 600 pounds of meat or whatever, 400 pounds of meat. So, yeah. So just looking for that specific bear that would like to have for maybe a life size or something.
Yeah.
In camp here, but we saw one that was pretty legit,
huge,
the night before. I got to 18 yards on him, but it was raining that night, and got darker earlier, and I couldn't really tell where kind of how he was positioned. He was broadside, but all I had was his spine and his back strap. He's over the edge.
Yeah.
And then I realized that he's staring at me, and then he bolted. So anyway, this particular bear, he stood, and which is perfect,
He stood because you kind of startled him. He saw you, jumped up on the side of a tree.
He knew I was there the whole time. I mean, that's the thing with these guys. They're not really. You get some that bolt. That if they get your wind, it's over. But they're pretty cocky. And he was cocky and just stared at me, and then I made the shot, and I was a little bit back. I was through the liver, and then it was a complete kind of a gong show after that. He went up a little bit and
shot a few times.
Yep. Yes, I did. And then I figured he was dead or was going to die real quickly, and which he did. But just the situation with getting him out of there, having Dave, I didn't want him to go in there with his condition, and so just thought we'll leave him, because I didn't see him die and I didn't hear him.
But you got 2 good arrows in it, to clarify. You got 2 good arrows in him, the bear.
The first arrow was a killing arrow, but I just, it's good to hear him die or see him die. And made the decision to back out and go in the morning. And we went back in the next morning. We found intestines that were pulled out, and then we found the gut pile, and no bear. So immediately my guides and I were like,
something's
grizzly?
wrong.
Yeah, something's not right. And Gary went over and checked out this snowbank, and there's a bunch of wolf tracks, and basically those wolves annihilated him, but yet kind of kept the hide intact.
Yeah.
I mean, their precision, they everything up to the neck.
What it was like they opened up the cape from the hindquarters,
spun it out,
and then it's almost like they ate underneath the hide all the way up to the skull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So looking at the bear, now you were able to keep some of the front shoulders and stuff.
Well, just the forearms is the only thing I was able to keep off that thing. That's the only meat that was available, which is osobuco, right? I mean, I love the forearms. So, and the head was fine, and yeah, it was just. It was
and that's
really
the first
bizarre.
time that's ever happened.
Never seen it in probably 300 bears I've been in on. I've never seen that particular thing happen.
Yeah,
we've never had a grizzly on one. We've had black bears, other dominant boar black bears consume.
Yeah.
Well, at least one that I know of. But otherwise, they're pretty much left alone,
Yeah.
They're pretty much left alone. And so, yeah, that was kind of that was an eye-opener.
It was satisfying for me because I got to see him get hammered. Jeff get hammered. He was excited.
Yeah.
And I like to see that in anybody, but I haven't seen it from him because he's so busy trying to get everybody else something.
Yeah.
Right? And, he gets happy about it, but this was intense for him, and that's what bow hunting does to us, right?
Yes.
And it was fun watching that in him.
Yeah. So y'all were the way we're hunting sometimes, and the way you were specifically hunting when you had Dave with you, 2 of you together, you were cruising some of these back roads. Bears are feeding in the ditches. So you saw the bear from the vehicle, jumped out, made a stalk on him, And so, Dave, you were able to pretty much see everything?
I could see everything right from the
That's
beginning.
pretty cool.
I didn't have to get out even.
Yeah.
Because, as a matter of fact, why would I get out? Because I'd make more noise.
Right.
He makes enough noise anyway, right?
Yes,
With
we
his coughing.
found that out this week.
Yeah,
His machine beeping.
It hasn't gone off yet. We've been lucky.
Oh, man.
So, no, it's been nice to have, I usually, it's a tough thing to do, even if you're in another zone and far away. We got a good group of, folks in camp, so I wasn't too worried about people being angry.
I want to say it's a super unique situation in that the guys in camp are friends, and we've all got, we've been hunting with Gary, and Ryan's been taking out Cody. I mean, so we were all pumped to see you get to go hunt.
Yeah, and we had a good time. I mean, to sit there and talk, and because honestly, after Dave had major heart surgery 6 months ago.
Yeah, 7, 8, yeah, whatever. Not too long.
Almost a replacement, heart replacement, right?
Well, half of the heart's
Yeah,
a pump titanium now.
so it didn't
Man,
matter.
that ought to make you better.
Oh yeah, I am
Probably make you a better trad bow shooter.
quite a stud now.
Yeah, no better looking, that's for dang sure. But so no, it was fun. It was fun to be able to go out with him, and yeah, we've had some. He's seen me go through some stuff in life, and vice versa. So
Yep.
it was just cool to be able to go out and killing the bear was a bonus, but it wasn't.
And then things were pretty intense. To understand the context of this situation, when you're trailing a wounded animal that's been left overnight, and you see a gut pile and no bear, automatically you know that something has preyed upon it.
Yep.
And your first thought was grizz, because this is grizz country.
We saw 4 of them this week. We saw 4 within 2 miles of that bear.
And so you're in a precarious situation at that point if it is a grizz, because he's going to be guarding his kill.
Oh, for sure.
And that's where you were like, one of your guides, I won't say his nickname, had the gun, and you said, "Give me the gun."
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you can get kind of careless. You can get careless, and that'll kill you. So mostly now with the grizzlies being shut down in BC, it's going to become more and more of a issue with confrontations, human and animal confrontations. I think you're going to see them go up. Well, you will see them go up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Well, the guys last night saw a big, beautiful grizz out in a spot that we've been hunting several times, that I've hunted this week several times. We didn't see a grizz there, but yeah, they're everywhere. We've seen them. We've seen, 2 adults, and both of them were sows with cubs, so multiple grizzlies. Saw a couple of big tracks yesterday. Fresh tracks. Mm-hmm. They're around, man.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. So yeah, we need to. Yeah, you just always need to be diligent with paying attention to what's around you. I think hunting in an area where grizzlies makes you a better hunter.
Mm-hmm.
It does, because you're paying more attention to what's around and where you're at.
It adds something to the hunt too. Grizzly is what the North American's premier predator, right? It makes it feel like you're in the wild. The grizzly is just so cool,
Mm-hmm.
They add a dimension to any hunt, even if you're not hunting them, even if you don't see them.
Yep.
That's what a big predator does. Is his shadow is always there.
Yeah,
it's always in the back of your mind.
Yeah, and that really adds a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Which is a lot of reason why your black bear that you're stalking every day are as aware as they are.
Yeah,
I noticed that this year more so than any other year.
Yeah,
seeing us from 200 yards away, and it's and bolting. That's, there's years
it's unusual.
Where you can walk right up to them, and wind has been an issue. Always is, though, in the mountains of BC.
Yeah.
Wind, you better make your move, and you better make it fast.
Yes.
If you can. And a lot of people have a hard time doing that. They think they got to go into super stealth mode. Mostly stick guys.
Yeah.
You got to run.
Yeah.
As quietly as you can.
Yeah. Well, guys, we've been talking for about 52 minutes.
Wow.
It's closing thoughts here. Dave, what would you say to what would you say to a young traditional archer getting into it?
I would just say, hey, love it for what it is. Play it out and just live it, because it's a wonderful, wonderful way to shoot a bow and arrow. And yeah, man, just live it and enjoy every minute that you have with it, because it's not always going to hang around, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say live it and love it.
That's good. Jeff?
I would say don't compare if you're starting in a traditional archery, I wouldn't, don't compare yourself to what you're seeing on YouTube or what you're seeing on the internet, social media.
Yeah.
Because you're not, all you're seeing online is success.
Right.
If stacking up animals and success is what your goal is, then probably don't shoot a trad bow. But if you like being out there with something simple, I mean, you can kill a lot of stuff with but it takes time. It's not overnight, mostly with instinctive shooting, however you decide to shoot. But enjoy it, and don't put the pressure on yourself that you have to meet up to somebody who's shooting lots of stuff,
Yeah.
Do you remember that article that Gene Wenzel wrote in PBS? It's called Instant Bowhunter. Look it up sometime. And, I mean, it's the perfect way to write about instant bow hunting, people that want to be instantly successful.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you got to read that sometime.
Yeah, it's the wrong thing.
Yep.
With traditional stuff, but fun.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to the motivations of why, I mean, you don't get into traditional bow hunting because you want to kill more stuff.
Right.
That's for dang sure. I mean, it's self-imposed limitation.
Right.
You got this whole wide world of North American hunting in front of you, or whatever opportunity you have, whether it's whitetails in your backyard or whether it's you're in BC and can hunt all these critters, or in Alaska. And you choose how you want to craft your hunting space, And so you're like, you know what? I've done this. I want to choose this limitation and let that be my weapon and become a traditional archer. And it changes you. And and what I've always said, I think I already said it today, is that in a world when inauthenticity is prevalent, I mean, when you can take a single photograph, 1 second capture of your life, and edit it and doll it up, and I'm speaking metaphorically but also literally, put it on to social media, and that becomes your brand. Like, basically, you can forge an image that's not real. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying everybody does that. I have an Instagram account. I have Facebook. I mean, like, I'm doing this kind of stuff. But in a world that is full of inauthenticity and people perceive that, you can't fake being a traditional archer.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, in closing, I think, and the trad guys that are here, and there's a few of us, there's nothing, you will never, your life will be changed when you kill your first animal with a stick, because you'll go, this can happen. And I believe that when that happens, and for some people, it took me a few years before I did, but when that happens, I don't know that you ever go back, because that challenge is so satisfying. It's gratifying to see what you did, and then, I don't think anyway.
Yeah.
Jake would probably agree with me, and Dave and you, I don't know. But for me, it was, because I had shoulder problems, big time. I got to get surgery. I had a compound brought up to me last year, a new Hoyt, that I shot 10 arrows through. And I have zero, I like compound guys. I want them in my camp because they're efficient and effective. And, but yeah, it just felt so weird to me. In fact, I couldn't even shoot it, really. Mm-hmm. I'm so used to coming and going, I couldn't sit there and hold it. I didn't know what a bubble was. Like for leveling.
Yeah.
It was just so, I mean, it would took me a long time to be proficient with that, which is crazy. So there's skill in both, but yeah. It's good.
Right on. Well, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure to share camp with both of you, for real. It has.
Yeah,
thanks, Clay.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming up. And it's your last day, so.
Yeah, we got to go kill a bear.
Yeah, let's go
get
kill
the
a bear,
microphone
man.
from your face and go shoot one of these.
We got to go get one. Keep the wild places wild, because that's where the bears live.
Absolutely.
Right on, man.
After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the Meat Eater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside. From grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.